All right, so let's talk about irrelevant conversations. As a personal trainer or strength coach, you've got a finite amount of time to work with a client to get a certain task and job done. And in the perfect world, I would always say that I'd love to have 2 hours a day with a client. It's just not feasible or reasonable financially for most people to actually do something like that. But there's so much to be done in terms of all the limitations we may have in mobility and flexibility and posture to capability of work density to get done in an actual hour. So I know I've been training for 20 years, and it's very hard for me to get all the work done I need to make progress still within 1 hour. So consider there's going to be a finite amount of work you can get done within an hour in terms of strength training, bodybuilding, sports performance training, you name it. So then you got all this education to give them. You got to get the workload done. You got to work on postural flaws and the balances there, and then perhaps cardiovascular endurance, conditioning, all sorts of things, technical and skill type work. You have so much to do within, let's say, a 60-minute time frame that you don't have time to kill. Irrelevant conversation, anything, early on, as a trainer, I was learning about, it's important to make rapport and to build that trusting relationship and all these things. That is all awesome and great, and I highly recommend it, but you got to learn the balance of building rapport and trust versus getting the job done and getting focused on the task at hand and keeping the big picture in respect. If you're coming in and talking about your weekend, about the baseball game last night, this or that or the other, you're wasting time and losing a lot of progress and gains that you could be making. So, if you're coming in, early on as a trainer, I would really focus on that rapport, and then the more I focused in on getting that client's work capacity built, working out their problems, I had so much to do and get done within an hour that we didn't have time for any of that. And so they saw how focused I was on their goals and their needs, that they trusted me. They got that. They knew that I had their best intentions in mind, and then they could actually feel and see the progress very quickly. And sometimes you might have a client who's only going to buy a month at a time, or say 3 sessions at a time, and they're not sure if this investment is really worth it for them. So you really got a lot to prove quickly, and sometimes that's not always the best scenario, and people should really consider that this is a journey, and that you are you learning how to fish? Are you giving someone a big fish? Or are you teaching them to fish? Or are you really providing a result versus just giving them a few sessions? It's hard to really work a miracle in 3 sessions or 12 sessions. But at the end of the day, you need to get to work and you need to get busy, and they need to see that you're building something and build a big picture for them, and that you're trying to put all the pieces together. So if you're sitting there talking about this, that, and the other, whatever, you're wasting time because you've got so much to focus in on. We talk about pre-education and post-education information for every set that we do. So before every set, there's certain cues and information that the client needs to hear about that exercise and how to technically perform it. Because when they're doing the set, you can't talk to them during the set with a lot of information, and having a conversation is not appropriate. It should be simple, quick cues to reinforce specifics so they can react and be an athlete and be strong. But post-set, that's when you come in and you instruct things that broke down or technical flaws and things that they need to do maybe perhaps a little bit better on the next set. And so that way you're hitting them before and after each set with the information they need, and you can hit them during the set with the proper coaching and motivation they need to attack the set with everything they have and run through walls basically. So that doesn't leave any time for irrelevant conversation about your life, your drama, your girlfriend, boyfriend, what you're doing that night, weekend plans, any of that crap. So there's a time and place for that, but honestly at the end of the day, it's not necessary or relevant. It's important to get to know your client at a personal level and develop that relationship, absolutely, but at the end of the day, you're hired to do a job, and every second counts. And if you want to keep and maintain that client and change their life and get them that measurable result, what they're after, then you got to get to work. So focus on the task at hand. Make them, need to train them as almost if you're making them a trainer. They should be able to turn around and explain to someone else how to do that exercise, because you've educated them so well on how to do that exercise so many times over that they've got it memorized. They've heard you say it a million times, and they could regurgitate that to someone else in their own words. So consider that every single time before a set. I've had clients I've trained for 6 years plus, and still to this day I have to tell them every single time how to do simple basic exercises, or at least giving them a review or a checklist of, hey, remember these main focus points you do before the set every single time, like a robot. like you're a Marine or whatever, and going through your checklist, making sure they don't take anything for granted and it's all there. You can't take that for granted. These are typically not professional weightlifters, people who focus on every little element. They're coming in trusting you to help them get the job done. So make sure you get that checklist down before the set. You give them amazing motivation coaching during the set that's with simple, basic cues. Post-set, you follow up with any reinforcement of things that they need to do right. And then as you come back to that next set, you build upon that last education you just gave them. Or so remember to not let your chest cave on that squat on the next on this set like you did on the last set. And then whatever cue that might help reinforce that. So maybe it's not focusing on what not to do, but what to do. So keep your chest up towards the ceiling. Maintain a tight posture hold. Inhale, hold tight breath into your stomach. Things like that. Whatever works for that client. Bottom line, at the end of the day, you don't have time to be talking about that and other irrelevant nonsense, and it's not about you. This workout is about them. And if anybody should be talking about their plans, it should be them. But that's another problem. As soon as you get them talking about other things, they're not focused on the task at hand anymore. They're not focused on their workout, not focused about squatting the best they can or bench pressing, whatever the exercise it might be. They are not a pro at this, so they need to be as focused as possible, and they've only got 60 minutes of time, so focusing and being distracted on any other irrelevant conversation or topic is not really warranted. On top of that, I like to keep a stopwatch between sets to make sure that we're not losing time. I'm maximizing every set and rep possible for that workout, and I can get the appropriate amount of work capacity done. So I know that when I step back, I can analyze, making sure we're on track and on pace to reach our goals. So keep your conversations to a point, and if you end up with time, you've hit all the educational points and they're focused and things are going well. Hey, you might find that 3/4 through the workout, you've got a chance to say, hey, how was your weekend? Ask them about them. If it's appropriate and you're ahead of schedule and things are going perfect, that's where you might fit that in. Otherwise, hey, maybe take them out for coffee later or something like that to really build that rapport and get to know them at the more personal level. So make sure you do that at the right time and place. It's not everyone's gonna have a little bit more need for that versus others, and sometimes you can strategically use that conversation when they may need more rest between a set. And you may notice, non-verbally that you're really huffing and puffing and they need more time to rest. That might be a great time for you to actually bring up a conversation that you're strategically using to build rapport and learn more about them, but also to give them a longer rest period. So use that in a very smart, intelligent way there, so you can keep things on track and not lose focus of the workout and turn it into a conversation or therapy hour or anything like that. So good luck.